All right, so big tech rant of the day. How is it that these people who are in control of our social media, now look, in my opinion, it's a private entity, these things, all right? Twitter, Facebook, they can do whatever they want. Really, it's up to them if they want to do it. What the American person is blind to realizing is that the power lies within your consumerism and how much you are willing to consume their product. It is 100% up to you. In my opinion, Facebook should be able to ban anybody they want. In reality, what the problem I have with big tech, besides this misconception that it's this public forum that needs to abide by the freedom of speech and abide by this and abide by that. No, it's called stop going to the bakery if the bakery isn't going to bake a cake for a gay couple that's getting married. If you disagree with them, then don't buy their product. Period. There is such a huge misconception that Facebook's become such a part of our lives, it's not going away, and therefore it needs to be a public forum of fair and balanced opinions. It's not like that, man. This is a that's a private enterprise. I'm defending Facebook here, okay? I'm shoving it back into Americans' faces because you're manipulated and propagandized into not even seeing that while you may vote for Donald Trump, and it is true that the people on the other side that have been controlling our country for decades and decades are really, truly bad, evil people. This is a fact. But let me ask you this. While all of this is happening and we're being distracted by all of the corruption, we're being distracted by the mainstream media being using disinformation and deceit to subvert the consciousness of America, which has happened. They violated the Smith-Mundt Act of 1946. It was modernized in 2012 by Obama. And hey, they're trying to pass more laws that increasingly impede on your constitutional rights. And Donald Trump has facilitated that. He has facilitated that. Go and look at retail trading, for example. Look at Robinhood or not even just retail trading. Go look at the stock market and look at the tech prices. What's going on? All of that printed money that went to the shale oil industry, that went everywhere else, also went into big tech. And believe you and me, the Dow Jones just dropped 900 points yesterday. That's volatility, my friends. And that's what's coming. If you're a retail trader, you're being taxed. Not to get off on too much of a tangent. What I'm simply saying is we're complaining about freedom of speech on Facebook. If you don't like it, stop using it. Collectively, are you able to organize collectively within your communities a cease and desist of using Facebook? Are you depending on Facebook too much? I am. I'm saying this because I recognize it in myself. I do business on Facebook. I try to communicate with people about this information. It's my main source of communicating with my family. We all live in different states. We're all trying to stay connected and inspire one another, or at least that's how I feel. I love other people's ideas. You take those good ideas and you emulate them from others. But what Facebook's being used for is to cast spells on one another. We are demonizing one another. I'm guilty of it. I can only speak for myself. We are so fixated on foreign policy, which is manifested by the immorality of those who have been in charge of us. We're so convinced by the mainstream media of these narratives that we're not seeing what's going on. We are not able to use collective consciousness. We're not able to use critical thinking. We're not able to use rational thinking about COVID. We're not able to use rational thinking about the things that matter. Our neighbor, Venezuela. Mike Pompeo is the Secretary of State, former director of the CIA, who has been all around Donald Trump in the White House trying to get him impeached, or they did get him impeached. Fiona Hill, all these people. They were all spies. They were all master spies. It's a fact. They were all spies in the CIA, and they were trying to overthrow the president in order to maintain their power with the military-industrial complex, the liberal media complex, and it's not just the liberal media complex. Don't let Fox News fool you. They are bad. 100% Fox News is as equally as bad as CNN. The only reason they had credibility is because they decided to start airing Dan Bongino and others who came forward with accurate information regarding Russiagate. Glenn Simpson, Peter Strzok, all I could name them all. These people are sick, and they've distracted you from what's going on. There's legislation that they're passing and have been since the summer about impeding on your privacy, being able to access your private information without a warrant. And these tech people go into Congress and talk to them like they own Congress, like they own our politicians. The CEO of Twitter goes into that Zoom meeting looking like Wim Hof just came out of a year-long ice bath with a nose ring in. You are going in front of our leadership, in front of the American people, and you're going to disgrace. You are going to disgrace. You're going to disgrace the Constitution. You're going to disgrace our tradition by showing up and pretending like you own the place. Hey, people, it's not pretending. They do. Just so you're aware, they do. Corporate America owns our politicians. I don't care. And I'm starting to believe that it's not just the ones that we were pointing the finger at and trying to defend the Constitution, trying to defend nationalism and populism. These people have a right to do whatever they choose. So do you. With that said, I'm calling out the corruption of the church. I'm calling out the corruption of our politicians. God bless Donald Trump for creating a perception that we are, in fact, saving the Constitution when it's being impeded on by surveillance, predatory corporate capitalists. And these people have been influencing the rest of the world, and that's why we are in a fight for our spiritual belonging, for our spiritual consciousness. We are in a fight for our values of what we hold true according to the Constitution. The Constitution was created by those who own slaves. I'm sick and tired of people calling these people racist because they were slave owners. You have to wake up and educate yourself and understand that slavery does not have so much to do with race as it does the commodification of a human being. And by that I mean, yes, African Americans were enslaved. All right, against their free will. Their consciousness and well-being was subverted. And here we are today in the situation we're in. Slavery has little to do with race as it does the commodification of human beings. Why am I pissed off now? Why am I calling the tech companies out? Because they are using the Cantillon effect as a way to commoditize humans by time they spend. How much time are you spending on social media daily? Every time you click on social media, they make money and you lose time. When you take out loans for school, you become indebted. When you take out loans for cars, for homes, for everything, you indebt yourself, you become a slave. The commodification of debt is driven by the central banking system. And what does the central banking system rely on? Your emotion. The human emotion is used as a variable in their business models. This is a fact. And every time you spend time on social media, You make them money. They are commoditizing time. Stop thinking of slavery in terms of racism. The Constitution makers may have been racist. Everybody's racist. There's racism that exists in all of us, and we choose to, at a point in our adult lives or our childhood, to reject discrimination based on race. And we do the best we can to not do it. We are aware of this. But what is happening is people are under the impression that slavery is purely racism, which means that those who owned slaves and created the Constitution therefore is racist. No, it's the idea of the Constitution. You can live in the frequency of the Constitution while ridding yourself of the consciousness that the creators of the Constitution held. It's up to you. You are giving the government the authority over your independent ability to seek the answers for yourself. And that's it's as simple as that. As complex as it may seem, it's as simple as that. These are the values that we hold as Americans. We were at the cutting edge and the forefront of freedom and democracy. Where has that democracy gone? Well, ask the 100,000+ poll workers that were hired for this election, under the guise of the impression that Russians and Chinese and Iranians, all of these enemies that were drummed up by the mainstream media over the summer, over last fall, this winter, or last winter, you name it, to stoke irrational thought about the election. The people pointing the fingers are the ones that are doing it themselves. Even Donald Trump. When you hear Donald Trump blame China for something or whatever, or you hear Mike Pompeo accuse socialism as being the reason why Venezuela's failing, no, and no. The CIA is trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government. And they're starving the people to do it and then propagandizing Americans into believing it's socialism that's ruining that country. No. It's evil American bullshit. And by American, I don't mean the ideal Americanism. I don't mean the ideal American. I simply mean the bureaucracy that has subverted the consciousness of our country under the guise of our beautiful freaking flag. By the way, all flags are beautiful depending on who you are. Did you know that? Of course you did. You just didn't think about it. What makes one person whose allegiance to a flag any better than another person's allegiance? We're putting value on our allegiances. And those allegiances are being used to propagandize you, to manipulate your emotions into taking that money that's printed and putting it in the stock market. And the minute that you lose money and your position goes in the red, you panic and you sell. Now take that one person and multiply that person by 20,000 or 5,000. Let's say 5,000 people. One person loses $100 in their position investing in Tesla because of a volatile market, which we just saw again yesterday, as I mentioned. Imagine 100 times 20,000. You can do the math, okay? It's a lot. Imagine that. That's happening daily. You are getting taxed daily. You have been commoditized, and that is a form of slavery, and they are using racism to divide, to create illusions. And they are using people in the media, people in the music industry, athletes who we've decided to value over our own constitutions. Forget those people. Those people decided to make millions of dollars the minute they stepped foot in the NBA. And they make YouTube videos boasting about what they spent their first fucking $1 million on. Are you kidding me? And these people we're supposed to listen to. Cardi B, you're supposed to listen to. Cardi B. Are you kidding me? Cardi B, of all people, makes the content that she does. Good on you. Make it. You make money. I hope you live well. what's happening is this lady decides to do what she does, and all of a sudden she's highly valued to the point where nobody has access. How many people have had access to Joe Biden? Not very many people. Kamala Harris doesn't even show up with him. They're not even in the same place ever. They're running candidates together. Yet Cardi B is able to interview Joe Biden. Where is your hot sauce in your purse, Joe Biden? Did you break the hot sauce out? Sick people. You sick people that fall for this stuff. I'm not here to crap on Donald Trump. I think what he's done is fantastic. He's the only president that I've ever seen or read about that has done everything that he said he was going to do, barring healthcare. Barring healthcare. And that's where the racket comes in. There is no accident that we don't have a plan. There is no accident. That is not an accident, people. Just so you know this. They know that you are fat, disgusting, overweight, obese, morbid, mortal, and that we are highly sick here, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and they are exploiting it with terrible health care. They're exploiting it. What did we just do? We just spent taxpayer dollars to pay hospitals that treat COVID. They just taxed us. And then what happened? The hospitals, did they stay overfilled? Or was it a scam? It's a scam. Wake up. Wake up. A scam. And now you're too sick. You're too dependent. You're too mind controlled. You're propagandized. You're manipulated. You're emotional. You're alcoholic. You eat too much sugar. I'm not trying to crap on anybody. We've all been there. I've been unhealthy as well, and I have to fight my unhealthy behaviors every single day. But it is the power of knowledge. It is the power of ridding yourself of the mainstream narratives and the propaganda and waking up spiritually. They are using facades. They are using evil. They are using bad deceit. They're using lies. They're using propaganda and manipulation to create an alternate reality. You can't live in the peaceful universe that your soul wants you desperately to be in. The farther your ego goes and is injected by propaganda and consumerism and drugs and alcohol and porn and sex and whatever else that we're addicted to, spending a bunch of money. That is an addiction, and we all know it. And every time you go online and spend money and click, that Cantillon effect goes more into effect and you become more commoditized. That's slavery. And they target people based on your race. That's discrimination based on racism. And who's doing it? Me? You? No. It's the tech companies and the large corporations who seek to subvert your consciousness into submission by offering you stuff that keeps you preoccupied with your ego. And as your ego grows and it gains more distance from who you are, your cosmic self, the farther you go from that, the more consumeristic, if that's even a word, that you become, the greater distance becomes, the more anxiety you feel. That's your intuition, your body's natural response. It's a sixth sense telling you that you are not living in the moment. You're not living in yourself. You are living in the illusions of the past, of trauma-based mind control, trauma from the past you can't get over, therefore you keep thinking about it and it becomes your reality. You can't live in the present. All of the external things they offer you is a way to keep you from living in the present and identifying yourself on all of those things. You have been commoditized. You're a slave. And it has nothing to do, very little to do with your race. It has everything, well, it does, the human race. They're enslaving humans. We are all slaves. I owe I lease this phone, and then I can pay it off or continue paying an extra amount of money a week. I am a slave to Sprint. I've relied too much on this phone. Therefore, it's become a part of my identity. I'm reliant on it. I'm dependent on it, and they know this. This is why they can turn your camera and your microphone on when they want and then go into Congress with nose rings in, hoop nose rings in, looking like Wim Hof just came out of an ice bath a year long. Are you kidding me? Let me get my Sergeant Watts hands on that guy. Let me get them. I will haze that person into conformity. That's all I'm saying. So with that, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. They're pushing a narrative that's going to lead us to war. Their narratives are war. They've created war from childhood. You've been living in an illusion of war if you have lived a lower class life, if you've lived a middle class life, if you've indebted yourself by conducting crime, all right? Getting in trouble, DUIs, basic things that tax you in life. They tax your energy. They tax your wealth. Retail trading. Tech companies are going to tax your wealth. They're doing it right now with volatility and the emotion of the investor. And this is what big tech's doing. This is what they're doing. There's no question about it. I'm all about truth. I'm all about Donald Trump. I like what he's done. I love the awakening, the consciousness, the spiritual awakening that's occurred. Now, are they going to use that to pander to your virtues of courage, justice, moderation, and wisdom? Statues have been torn down. The iconoclasts have torn down and they're trying to erase history. That's fine if it offends you, but keep this in mind. That which we choose not to confront through diligence of research and democratic conversation are doomed to repeat tyranny, doomed to repeat that which they just tore down. And this is the big bamboozle of our lifetimes. And it's happening. They are pandering to your virtues in order to subvert your consciousness into a path. That path is a path of their immorality, and we end up suffering for their immoralities because it is we who execute their immoral deeds in order to maintain the value of the US dollar and in order to enrich the military-industrial complex, the media complex, and all of these elite people whose families garner all of these reconstruction contracts from war-torn countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. For example, Peter Strzok, who apparently, according to sources, never even attended the FBI Academy. And his family received half of the contracting bids for the reconstruction of Afghanistan and Iraq. If that's not deep state, I don't know what is. Wake up. Turn the mainstream media off. Listen to yourself. Don't even listen to me. Hear what I'm saying and then go investigate it for yourself. Watch how these people conduct themselves in front of Congress. Put your ego down. Put it down for a minute and hear what I'm saying. If you're a Trump supporter, be weary and hold this guy accountable. Be weary and hold this guy accountable. What's going to happen in my mind, the way I see it, is that these people have hired tens of thousands of poll workers to manipulate the election, all right? And they're already exposed. It's already being exposed by independent investigators, and it's being censored by big tech, go figure. What they're going to do, what they've been creating the narrative of, is that the Republicans, which they're sick to, the polarization, the Republican and Democrat parties are toast. They're disgustingly, deceivingly corrupt. All of them. which is what I love about Donald Trump, because he's more of a Democrat or an independent than he was a Republican. But he ran as an evangelical Republican, right? Go figure. What they're doing is creating a narrative that the Republicans are using voter suppression by certain methods, because what I see happening is a defeat holistically. I believe Donald Trump's not only going to win the electorate, I think he's going to win the popular vote, and they're going to use that narrative that was drummed up months ago about voter suppression, who I heard very smart people come to me and say, Trump's going to rig the election. And I'm thinking to myself, have you not really investigated the true nature and origins of Russiagate, of what happened? The people who were accusing the president of doing it were actually themselves doing it. And you're still worried about voter suppression and Trump manipulating the elections? The people who are accusing him of that are themselves adjusting the election. And what they're doing is they've created a narrative to explain why it is Donald Trump's going to clean house come election day. He's going to sweep it. I think he's going to win the popular vote and the electorate. That's what I feel. Wake up. Do your research. Smith-Mundt Act. Cantillon effect. Max Kaiser. The Kaiser report. Yes, he works for RT Network. I don't care. Anything is better than the American propaganda that is 95 to 98% meant to distract you from the reality and to create a false perception of reality. So you live a lie. We as Americans have been living lies for decades. All of our lives, I'm 36 years old, and our parents' lives. And we have all been controlled into war, death, famine, bloodshed, debt, addiction. What else do you want? What else would you like? We're addicted to violence. We're addicted to guns. I am pro Second Amendment. I don't like assault rifles being privately owned, but given the nature of what I'm seeing, people need to protect themselves. And I have since recanted. I made a video a long time ago about how I feel assault rifles should not be owned by private people. I've used those weapons in combat. I know them very well. Wake up. Wake up.